me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
And so I think that is a disruption that's coming for the industry. Grass cutting is a big chunk of what happens on the park and rec maintenance side. So anything that can be improved upon there is going to, provide quality of service or even higher levels of service for your facilities when you can just do your work more efficiently.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We shine a light on the behind-the-scenes heroes who keep our parks vibrant and our communities connected. Today, we're diving into the heart of facility maintenance and what it means for our community. We're diving into the future of lawn care with robotic mowers, a game-changing innovation that's revolutionizing park maintenance with major efficiency boosts. This allows us to reallocate capital and man-hours to more programming or higher levels of maintenance DPI, tackling that never-ending backlog of projects. We'll also touch on deep topics like urban forestry, highlighting the impact of trees on property value, community health, and even urban heat islands. This show is about empowering our professionals and embracing innovation to build a stronger future for parks and recreation.
All right, this is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, Facilities Maintenance Edition. We're a few minutes early, so for a change, rather than a few minutes late, trying to form a good habit here. But today's show, I'm actually have something special for y'all, thanks to one of my previous guests, Brian Myers over in Post Falls, Idaho, is getting a demo for a Robotics lawnmower at 4 p.m. today. So we're gonna try our best to go live and show y'all the demo of what a robotic lawnmower looks like. If you haven't gotten a demo, well, this is where you can kind of see one remotely, see its capabilities, what it does, that kind of stuff. So we'll be going live for that 4 p.m. Central. So that's what, 5 p.m. What's up there? Eastern. 5 p.m. Eastern, I think 2 p.m. Pacific. So yeah, looking forward to that. For facilities maintenance, mowers that can cut by themselves at night without getting sick. Of course, they still need a little love and support and care to replace their blades and batteries, and they can't cut everywhere and everything. But man, they're getting there. They're improving. And so we get to see one of the later models that I believe it's XMark is the company that they're demoing with. And I think that's going to be the future of all grass cutting. Obviously, it's if you can get a robot to do the work, it's going to be more efficient. And so I think that is a disruption that's coming for the industry of just grass cutting in general. And grass cutting is a big chunk of what happens on the park and rec maintenance side. So anything that can be improved upon there is going to, provide quality of service or even higher levels of service for your facilities when you can just do your work more efficiently. So between that and a lot of other things that are coming up through robotics, I think it's going to be, I think, a big windfall for Parks and Recreation, so that maybe they can allocate their capital to more programming out of maintenance, or maybe just increase the level of maintenance. I know that's a big thing. There's always more stuff to maintain than the amount of manpower and dollars to maintain it. So this ought to be interesting. Yesterday, we had a great show. If you missed it, with Savvy Ghosh and Brian Myers, we did an entire episode just on urban forestry. And man, I had about 20 questions that I just didn't get to. I don't know what I was thinking that I could even cover that in 1 hour. And it just goes to show that there are some topics in Parks and Recreation that are just have such depth and have really the breadth and the depth of urban forestry. Why we do it. There was a big discussion we had just on why it's important. We just scratched the surface on that one. But then Brian, of course, has 3 full-time people on staff dedicated to maintaining the urban forests in his community. I think he's up to 18 or 19,000 trees in their inventory that they have to maintain. Um, Let me pull up some of those show notes so I can kind of cover that a little bit better. Yeah, and then I'm learning a lot, I've never heard of it as tree inventory. Yeah, it makes sense. Urban heat island, I'm learning about what that means. When you have no trees versus a tree canopy, and as the sun bears down on black asphalt and sidewalks and concrete and steel, it just makes it blistering hot. But if you have these trees that are, planted in the right places, it can drastically drop the temperature and the feel, um, just from a temperature standpoint. But then we go into like, how much impact does that nature have on you when you're surrounded by, I guess, the birds, the trees, the beauty of kind of being somewhat in a mixture of in nature, in the city, and how important trees are to plant. Plus, trees give off oxygen, so that's good to have those big tree canopies around. So, I think this was a great topic. Kind of opened up my mind a little bit more to the different types of shows that we can have. Whether, maybe it's not a 4 times a week show, kind of like what we have in leadership series, or are in this show, which is facilities maintenance, where we've got a lot of people to cover, a lot of ground. But maybe just like a weekly show, similar to what we're doing with Youth Sports Mastery or YPN, perhaps even a monthly show just around urban forestry, because it really is quite a deep topic. And as Brian said, if we're doing 52 shows a year on the topic of urban forestry nationally, we will have no problem filling the slots with people who have dedicated their life to becoming an arborist, being a spokesperson for why we would want to plant trees and the impact they have on our cities or on our health, on our overall well-being, or just the value of our property was a subject that we touched on that I'd like to go deeper on. That, a home inside of a community that has well-established old legacy trees, the homes are just worth more. They add a lot of value to the property versus a tree. So you've seen those subdivisions where it's just like nothing but dirt, and then they put sod in, and then they put houses, but there's no trees in it. It's night and day difference from an older subdivision that has these 100, 200-year-old trees. Just adds a lot to it. Anyway, that was just a great topic that we covered in the facilities maintenance show. And I think it's just kind of uncovering as we develop the different types of shows that we'll have under DPRS Media Company, also known as Daily Parks and Rec Show. And then I also had a great conversation with a podcaster who creates content for youth sports. Thanks to Aaron Locks, who's connecting us with a lot of great people in the youth sports industry. And, we're starting to see our role, which is what we had originally wanted, is to become a media platform company that does, we create a lot of the distribution channels for Parks and Rec content. So DPRS Media Co. will create the distribution channels for any kind of content that's produced for, on behalf of, or by the members of Parks and Recreation. And this way we kind of have our own network, similar to how ESPN caters to the sports industry. We will be catering to the Parks and Rec industry. And so I say this because if you are a podcaster, or if you're creating content, or if you're like in a state association and y'all do a monthly podcast, let us help you get a wider distribution, and then even help you on some of the editing and thumbnail creation. I know it takes us a lot to be able to create this stuff, these digital assets, or kind of to package these podcasts or these interviews and prepare them for a much wider, broader distribution. We have over $1,000 a month worth of software, AI tools, that help us edit the sound and the videos and create the graphics and stuff. And then behind that, we've got a whole team of social media managers, videographers, sound engineers that are cutting and slicing and pasting and highlighting and all this stuff. And so I'd much rather the content creators of Parks and Recreation to focus on just creating good content and getting good interviews and, speaking about the lessons and the best practices and the wisdom that they've attained over decades of experience, and then allow us to help get that message out, kind of package it for y'all, and then get that message out. And I think that kind of speaks to the mission that we have with the Daily Parks and Rec Show and the foundation of building a media company for Parks and Recreation. And hopefully, we won't be the only group that does this. I remember when I was in the Bitcoin community doing something very similar. I was one of 42 media companies that were there producing content for the small topic of Bitcoin. I say small, it's exploding now. And yet here we are, an older, much more robust, which, by my estimation, trillions of dollars of real estate under the management of all of our nationwide Parks and Rec professionals, hundreds of years old. Some of these agencies are well over 100 years old, and they're just doing a great job bringing value to our communities, making them beautiful, just really leaving a legacy and making a big impact on the quality of life. And yet, there's no media coverage. And so we're going to change that here. And I hope we inspire others to do the same. Whether you're just a podcaster and you just feel like you've, spent a life, let's just say in aquatics or in urban forestry, and would just like to record a podcast to talk about something you're so passionate about within the Parks and Rec industry. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. We would love to help you just get get more reach, get more eyeballs, get more attention. If you've got a great message and you've dedicated your life to that message, then I think it would be a shame that you only had 1,000 followers or 500 followers or whatever, when we can really grow this to a much broader audience and share that message. And look, if there's any industry that loves to collaborate and share, it's the industry of Parks and Recreation. They are the best at just copying what another city does well and then kind of making it their own, making a few tweaks and adjustments because every city's different. And so I think the more we can get those best practices out there to highlight who's the best in America, of the 12,000 agencies, who are the top 10 when it comes to urban forestry, when it comes to youth sports, when it comes to aquatics, when it comes to all the other topics that, you're going to have your people that have just been doing it a long time that do it well. Take special events for instance. I know there's been a couple of cities that I've interviewed that do over 200 special events in some form or fashion a year. And so they've just become like a special events machine. And so maybe, and they have great partnerships so that they're not actually doing every single special event. They're really just partnering. And I know this show's supposed to be a lot about facilities maintenance, but same thing when it comes to maintaining green spaces, urban forests, drainage, having natural environments versus manicured environments. I learned a lot about that yesterday, that there's a difference between a manicured environment, which is more, cutting the grass, making sure only one species of grass grows, having ornamental trees, having, maybe rocks that are spaced out. Basically it's just manicured. And then on the opposite side of that, you've got like a forest, a natural forest, and then maybe moving more towards manicured a little, but keeping native species, maybe not so much of one type of grass, allowing things to grow a little more naturally. And this allows for a much easier maintenance program, that you're not having to spend so many dollars to maintain properties that are more naturalized than they are manicured. And so think of a golf course. A golf course is the exact opposite of naturalized. I mean, I know there's parts of it that are wooded and stuff, but if you think about where the green is, that's highly manicured, and so that's probably the most expensive green space to maintain versus just a forest, right? And so, where do parks fall in there? Obviously, they're going to be somewhere in between. Some of them do have golf courses, but then others just have forests, and they might have like maybe just a trail through the forest, a bike trail, walk trail, but we just keep Mother Nature and all its beauty and its natural forms, and that's a lot easier to maintain. And so, what are the different practices for that? And let's have those conversations online to where, if you can't attend a state association or a national association, maybe because your city can't afford to send at the entire department there, you can still kind of capture basically the essence and the message. The messages can still be online. And that's what we want to do. We want to create a content library of all the wisdom of parks and recreation so that everyone has access to it. And I think if we all have equal access to the best practices of parks and recreation at the tip of our fingertips, on our cell phones in a media library, then at least we're not, I don't want to say failing, but we're not doing our best because we just don't know. We may not be doing our best because maybe we're not funded, or maybe because we're just a young department, or we're getting there, but we're not there yet. But it's not because we don't have a decent framework or structure that's been proven and tested throughout the rest of the country, and we can look at the top in our industry as maybe a guidepost to get there. And so my goal is to get all of Parks and Rec masters and craftsmen and wisdom recorded and live recorded, and then on the YouTube library, and then we're going to put it on a couple other things as well. But of course, it goes live on all channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, X, YouTube, you name it. So anyway, that's kind of what we're up to here. Again, I'm going to come back around 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock Eastern to do a live demo of a Robotics lawnmower that's being demoed for City of Post Falls, Idaho, with Brian Myers. So be looking out for that. And then today, in about a little less than an hour, a little over an hour, we have Peter. Hold on, let me make sure. Upcoming. I wonder, I'm looking at the past ones. And I had a great conversation with Sevi. We've got some stuff cooking up in the back. And we have another designer that's working with us, Hannah. Welcome to the team. I know she's already designed a couple of things, so our little team is growing, and she's doing a great job. Jason Peters. So Jason Peters, 12 noon leadership series here in a little over an hour. Looking forward to that. And I'll be signing off, and I'll see y'all here shortly. Y'all have a great morning. Bye.
The future of parks and recreation is here, and it starts with you. Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Recreation Show, where we bring you the latest insights, trends, and conversations shaping the world of parks and recreation. Today, we're diving into something that's shaping the future of our industry: Young Professional Networks, or YPN. If you love your job and love the parks and recreation community and are looking to connect with the next generation of leaders, this episode is for you. YPN is where driven, passionate professionals come together to connect, grow, and make a real impact. It's not just about networking, it's about building the future of our communities. Why join YPN? Career growth and mentorship. Learn from the best in the industry. Innovative ideas and collaboration. Be part of the next big movement. Leadership development. Take charge, make decisions, and create change. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your career to the next level, YPN is your gateway to success. From exclusive networking opportunities to cutting-edge industry insights, this is where you build your legacy. Because the future of parks and recreation starts with you.